Welcome to Book 101 Review. Book 101 is all about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. She's the author of several children's books, no other than Miss Laurel Colless.
Hi, Daniel. Hi, and
Well,
thanks for having me on.
yes, welcome to Book 101, Miss Laurel. And can you please introduce more about yourself?
Okay, well, thank you. The short answer to my journey story is that as we were just talking, I grew up right down at the bottom of the world, pretty much as far south as you can go in New Zealand, and I was born in Australia. So after I graduated university, when I was around in my early 20s, I had to go north. So I went off to Europe. New Zealanders, we travel a lot because we grow up wondering what's going on at the top of the world. So I went off to Italy and then moved kind of sideways to Japan. And after that, I met my Finnish husband who took me north. He ended up he's a diplomat. He got a posting in the US, in Washington, D.C., his big dream posting. And I basically lived on four continents and in my 50s circled back to writing. So when I was studying, I was studying literature. I graduated as a literary comparatist. I was supposed to be a writer. Then I just went off and worked in the corporate environment in Japan, in the US, and in Finland at Nokia during the Nokia cell phone rise. So I had this huge other life in
Yes.
business, and then finally circled. There was a special pivot. Maybe we can talk about it as we get into our conversation, but there was a pivot that took me back to writing, but it was when I was in my 50s. So now I've just turned 60 and I've authored four books with another one on the way, and I'm not looking back.
Miss Laurel Colless, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. And today, let's talk about your writing process of all your children's books. How did you first discover your love for writing and what inspired you to pursue it seriously?
Okay, well, I think, as I said, so this was sort of my dream growing up. I used to, when we had writing class in primary school, and we were supposed to write a page or two, I would write like 20 pages or 30 pages and fill the whole exercise book. So I love to write. I love thinking about people and wondering what's happening inside their heads and looking at different characters and the way people interact together. So yeah, I naturally went on to study literature. I read everything I could get my hands on, and then in a way it was fitting because I was supposed to become a writer, but at age 22 when I graduated in as a literary comparatist, I had no experience. So I suppose when I look back retrospectively, I went off and saw the world, lived on four continents, as I said. I married someone from Finland who is as far north as you can go from my home country, had all these experiences, and then started moving back into the idea of storytelling and writing. Um, but my writing, I don't know if you're aware, Daniel, but my writing has a purpose attached to it. So during my long career, I got very focused on sustainability and on the climate crisis and big intractable world issues, which I believe that business can play a role in addressing. But it was sort of in my early 50s when I had my own children, who were actually at that time in my target age range, 9 to 12 for the novels. That's when I started doing the writing, and started looking at the upcoming generation. So I'm writing for children at the moment, and I'm writing books with a purpose to raise awareness of the climate, to entertain, of course, that's my main goal, but to raise awareness also of the climate crisis. So they have an environmental angle, but not in a boring teaching way, not didactic at all. Uh, if we have time, I mean, basically, I've created a monster. So we have weather monsters and we can talk about that if we have
Yes.
time.
Very well said, Miss Laurel. Very well
Oh, you're too
said.
kind, Daniel.
Beautifully articulated. How would you describe your writing style or voice to someone new to your work?
Well, the writing style, maybe if we look at the genre, so I'm working in fantasy fiction, and I needed to develop a style that would be accessible to 9 to 12-year-olds, so kids, but kids who still believe in the magic of nature and still, they can still be drawn to fantasy. So I needed a style for this novel series that would do all that and still be entertaining, humorous. So I've developed anyway a concept where I have this secret school. So it's a kind of Arthurian legendary school, but it's into a version of today's world. And the kids are the top eco kids of the world, and they're sort of brought there from every country. Everyone's from everywhere. So I'm not looking at cultures, I'm looking at the culture of the school, which is basically training to fight these weather monsters, which are a demonification of what we see around us every day, the climate, extreme weather events. You said you're in Canada, so I don't know. But in the US, flooding, hurricanes, wildfires, I think you're having in Canada. In the
Yes.
Europe, we're seeing flooding, wildfires. It's an everyday occurrence somewhere in the world that we're seeing extreme weather patterns, deadly. So I've created these weather monsters, a whole compendium of them, which is sort of this fantasy overlay. So I'm writing realism. These are real kids going to school with all the problems of, friendships and getting to know your own self at that age. But they have this greater purpose, which is learning to fight these demonification, if you like, of extreme weather events. So yeah, it's pretty exciting stuff. I didn't want the kids to feel like I was creating a world that was somewhere over there. I wanted the kids to understand this is a version of our world with all its big problems. uh, but I also wanted to hit them through their imagination, which makes it somehow not as scary. So that's the style I've developed, and it's a kind of Harry Potter meets the climate crisis meets. I don't know if some of your listeners might have read the Enid Blyton books, the famous Five series, or maybe the Hardy Boys, these kind of gang groups who are solving mysteries and taking challenges and overcoming their courage and going out and doing brave things. So that's kind of the style I've developed. And actually, the very first book, which one, because I wasn't sure how it was going to go, but the first book, which is a kind of prequel, this is You Have Nights Unite up on the screen, which is the book that I've just published, which I was very pleased. If you can see the seal, I won on Earth Day this year. The book won a US Green Earth Book Award as recommended reading for elementary schools. So they've been quite well received. Uh, and I think I'm hitting, the kids who read it are giving me good positive feedback that they're page turners and they want to keep reading and that they love the characters and they want to be like them. Uh, so I think I answered your question. So that's thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations, Miss Laurel. And tell us what is all about Knights Unite.
Well, this one, so I told you that there's a whole compendium of what I call anthrogs. So you see this rising monster. So what I had to do was find a way to make climate change and extreme weather the bad guy, the villain of the novels. So in this one, we have a sea beast, and this sea beast. So in this book, I'm raising awareness of plastic pollution in the oceans, and these kids are actually working on cleanups, and it's pretty scary and disgusting. And then this blind sea beast that you see on the cover has been birthed way down at the bottom of the ocean, 4 miles down, where it's dark. And we now know that microplastics have been falling for some years. So, human created problems that these kids are now being forced to deal with. So but they're brave and they find ways to connect even with this sea beast. So it's not all just violence and anger. I mean, this sea beast didn't ask to be born, and so the kids actually find ways also to use heart and love to connect with this monster, which ultimately they have to prevail over. That's in a nutshell. But
Yeah.
it's a school series, so these kids are having fun at school as well, and there's all kinds of stuff going on in the background. So Sleeping King, which you have up now, that won the Children's Moonbeam Gold Award. That was the first book, and it was like a prequel, sort of setting up my main protagonist, Peter Blue, for the series. So that's kind of a book that maybe a child reader might go back to. But I'm encouraging kids to get in now and read the first book, which is called Eye of the Storm Lord, and that features this sort of villainous Storm Lord, which is again a demonification of, yeah, Eye of the Storm Lord, and that's Peter Blue, my protagonist there, when he first gets to this school. Yeah, so I'm having a lot of fun with the way the kids interact together. And what I'm hoping is that when a child reads my book, they'll find someone in there that looks a lot and sounds a lot and thinks a lot like them, but they'll also find kids that are very different and have different ways of addressing problems. And that way, in addition to getting knowledge and entertainment, they might also learn empathy, and just maybe enjoy reading a bit more. So this is Renegade Tales, which you have up now on the screen. That's the second book uh, in this kind of thriller series, and that is these kind of rogue winds. So nature spirits of winds that have gone rogue and birthed out of garbage dumps. So it's all about, unfortunately, you know, we know that climate change, or 99% of the world scientists agree, Daniel, that climate change is anthropogenic and was caused by humankind, by our overconsumption, excessive emissions into the atmosphere, uh, leading to a warming world and ultimately influencing extreme weather events. So this is an example of these renegades. They're strong winds that can also show up as demons. And the kids end up in a volcano on that one. But I love putting the kids in really tight spots, making life super difficult for them, and then they have to use their brains and their wits and their teamwork to get themselves out and be courageous, of course. And not all of them want to be courageous, but they show up for it. Yeah.
Mm,
Uh, I, thank
Congratulations,
you,
Miss
Daniel.
Laurel, for being
Yes,
award-winning author. Keep up the good work and please create more books for our younger generations to
thank you.
come. Let's empower them about climate change. Are there authors or books that profoundly influence your approach to writing?
Well, approach to writing, what I do is I channel my 11-year-old self. I make a habit of doing this because that was when I remember being the happiest, reading these kind of adventure stories. So getting
Yes.
home from school and closing myself in my room and opening these adventure tales and just disappearing into the book with the characters. So I definitely, that has an influenced the way I try to write these stories. I want to write the kind of story that I would have liked to have read back then when I was 11. That's part of it. And then in terms of authors or books, there's one book which is quite a heavy read that was written in 1932 by T.H. White, a British author, and the book is called The Once and Future King, and that actually was picked up by Disney, and the big animated movie of now some years ago that Disney made famous, the story of King Arthur as a boy. So quite often when I'm looking at my Peter Blue, my kid protagonist, I'm sort of modeling him a little bit around the boy Arthur. The King Arthur and Camelot and the stories of Arthur. Uh, so yeah, I feel like that is the big story of our time. The story of Arthur, who's this boy who doesn't know where who is kind of adopted and doesn't know what his big future is that's awaiting him until he finally pulls the sword from the stone. So there's some elements also in my protagonist. And there's also a relationship that my protagonist has with a forest mentor who's a little bit like Merlin, Merlin the wizard or the magician, but he's a kind of nature druid type with the long hair and the cloth robe and sort of magical. He's very engaged. He can speak with trees, and he's a kind of Merlin character. So that book and the whole big Arthur story is one that had a big influence on me in coming up with the series and also the way I've pulled my characters together. And you might be interested to know, I found out later that J.K. Rowling, you know, the amazing uh, world-winning middle grade and young adult author who wrote the Harry Potter series, um, she was influenced by the same book by T.H. White. I read somewhere, and her Harry Potter character was in some way influenced by the boy Arthur as well. So, in
Mi-
fact, if I might just use this moment to say, when I got the first book out, I was really pleased with one of the first reviews from Kirkus, which is a 100-year-old review service, book review service in the US. The tagline for my review was that, because I think there are similarities with Harry Potter, but totally different in many ways because I'm going for this environmental purpose with the storytelling. But the Kirkus Review tagline was, Collis has created a kind of Hogwarts that operates on the magic of environmental awareness. And I thought that was lovely. I've actually got it on the back of a number of the books now because it really sums up the goal, which was to try to create this Arthurian style novel. So a little bit mythological, but at the same time, a lot of realism. Did I answer your question? I think I did. Probably in the
Indeed, indeed, Miss
right.
Laurel. So, as an award-winning author, what are your short-term and long-term goals?
Well, the short-term goal is the short-term goal is to write more books. I've got, I think now scoped 7, maybe 8 books in this series, and I'm on book 4 now. So short term, I want to get those done. Long term goal is to use all my resources, all of my time, all of my energy into addressing the climate crisis. Because if we don't solve that, I mean, business, I mean, everything that we hold dear is at risk. The human life in the world itself. So I'm getting a bit too heavy, but I felt like when I got into my 50s that I wanted a purpose, a higher purpose for my work, not just to sell widgets or do something that was just getting me through day to day. I wanted to have a higher purpose. So these books, in a way, have been my 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 way of contributing or giving something back. And if when I'm done with this, I might actually start writing for adults. And I'm thinking about climate thrillers or environmental thrillers, just to raise awareness and to show, we have all the technologies and all the information we need as a world to solve the climate crisis. We just need the will. So
Good
yeah,
luck,
long
good
term.
luck.
Yeah.
Good luck to your goals, Miss Laurel, and looking forward for more award-winning piece to come. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be award-winning author like you?
Oh, I would definitely tell aspiring readers, wherever you are and whatever you are thinking about or working on, just to jump straight into it. And the thing that you have to work against is imposter syndrome. So I mean, I suffer from it every day, even when I've got 4 books out now that are quite well received. Uh, the imposter syndrome, if you know what I mean, Daniel, where you feel like, who am I to be able to be an author? And, why should anyone want to read or hear from me? You have to overcome that and just keep going. And also, you have to get up in the morning and just start writing. And you have to tell yourself you're a writer.
Yeah.
And the rest, I think, will just unfold.
Definitely. Thank you for that advice, Miss Laurel. And can you please recommend a book or books that influence your journey?
Yeah, well, I did touch on the T.H. White book earlier. I feel like that is the book, the story of Arthur. But if somebody is an aspiring writer, there's a terrific book which has been around for a long time. It's called Bird by Bird by Anne Lamott. I think I'm getting that name right. And that is a wonderful autobiography, uh, full of great tales and full of great writing tips and full of sort of incentivizing, inspirational uh, stories about her own life and about her own writing journey. And I would 100% recommend that to someone who's getting started on their writing journey, or anyone, wherever you are on your writing journey. Very entertaining and very helpful.
Yes, thank you for that recommendation, Miss Laurel. And I hope our viewers or listeners will read it, and for sure they will be empowered. How do you know when a piece is truly finished and ready to share as you're doing your children's book?
Oh, that's a real tough one, Daniel, because if you ask, you speak to a lot of writers on this show. I'm sure if you ask most writers that question, they'll tell you that it's never ready. You just that you always want to go back. I mean, even when I've signed off on it, I want to go back and read it, and then I cringe and think, no, no, I should have done this that way, or I should have changed that sentence this way. So I think you reach a point where you have to just let it go when you feel like it's as good as it can be for now, and you send it off to your editors. You get it back, you have another shot at it, and then finally you just have to say, no book is perfect. I think there is a quote, and I'm blanking on the name, but basically, every novel is somehow flawed because you've got to just let it go and get it out there. And it's better to get the kids out there and get it into the hands of the kids and get them reading, uh, than to sit on it for too long. So the short answer is you never know that it's ready. You never believe it's ready, but you just have to keep going, like everything in life, I think. I
Keep
don't know if that was a good
going for
answer.
sure.
Yeah,
And
you're
before
coming with some tough questions here, Daniel.
before we wrap up our discussion today, Miss Laurel, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season as well, comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season too, geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101 love letters in its third season, and my movie 101 review and music 101 in fourth season, and science 101 and sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So Miss Laurel, if you could give,
Sorry, Daniel, I'm just
yes.
wondering, when do you sleep? You're doing so much.
Yes, yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. So, what the most rewarding feedback you have ever received from the reader of your children's books?
Hmm. Okay, you're putting me on the spot. Let me. Oh! I've got one. So actually, here in Finland, there was a woman who I met, an American woman who I met through the American Women's Club, and she took my books to give to her grandchildren, to her granddaughter. And in my books, all of the characters who arrive at the school, one of the special elements in my books is that they all get given a tree, and they get a baby tree which they go and plant, and that tree has a mystical connection to them, and the tree is something, the type of tree usually suits the personality of the character, and I have a lot of fun with that. uh, so she came back to me and said that when the child had been young, they had gone together and planted a tree in the forest, and after her grandchild had read the book, she wanted to go back with her grandma and find that tree. And I thought that was a very special thing, that it was a kind of call to action to get back into the forest for a reader. So if I had to choose something, yeah, it's
Yes,
very heartwarming.
and yes, indeed. And Miss Laurel Colless, thank you so much for
Oh,
sharing
you're
your
welcome, Ed.
knowledge and wisdom to the world. So, can you please invite our listeners to support all your children's books?
Well, I don't know if you're able to put my website, Laurel Colless, or www.laurelcollis.com is my own website, or you can go straight to Amazon. Uh, Ingram Spark, that's Ingram Spark, is the wholesaler that librarians and shop owners can go to. And actually, very quickly, I don't know how much time we have, but
God,
any parents out there, parents of 9 to 12-year-olds, what I would most love, since I'm trying to draw awareness of overconsumption and the climate crisis, I'd love it if you could find a chance to get to a library or get to a school librarian and have them order the book so that more children can read one copy and we can get the circular economy going. And also, if you want to find out more without spending too much money, I've deliberately put my ebooks at a very low price on Amazon so that parents, teachers, librarians, and others can go and take a look before they purchase, for example, the paperback, which I think children still prefer to hold a paperback
paperback.
book. Yeah, so I would love people to jump in and have a look at the stories and go first to the ebook by all means, and then maybe purchase a paperback for a library or a shared book circle or book club for kids. Thanks so much.
Yes, people, let's support Miss Laurel College because if you support her, for sure, more and more and more award-winning children's books to come. So, Miss Laurel, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Daniel.
More to come,
Take
people.
care.
See you soon.